Yeah,
You ready?
Oh, eventually.
don't need to be
I
greedy.
think we're ready.
Melissa, you ready?
I'm ready whenever you are, yep, thank you.
Go ahead, Mr.
Checking.
Smith, you're on the agenda.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, thanks for making time for me. Appreciate it. I try to get around, some of you know, I try to get around to all the select boards in the county, at least once a year. And,
Leave us a lot of money, right?
we'll see, John. So we just talk about, what's going on in the county. In this situation, it's what you know. The announcement of Fairfield closing is huge for the county, 420 jobs, leaving potentially 2027, 2 years out. This is, probably should have seen it coming. I don't think anyone did, but they were looking at building a whole new plant back in 22. They did permitting, they did engineering, they clear cut their back 15, 20 acres, all set to build a whole new plant. It wasn't, because the current plan was 40 years old, and it was tough to meet FDA regulations just based on process. So they're looking at building and they spent, I don't know how many millions, but to prepare for it. And then they put it on hold. The new plant was supposed to cost $310 million, and then with COVID, a rumor I heard was it jumped to $450 million. So they put it on hold. About the same time they put it on hold, they bought a Nestle's plant up in Wisconsin, and it looks like they deferred all the capital to the Nestle's plant, and then they finally made the commitment to go with that, and that's where the announcement came to close down Georgia. So the state has had conversations. I have a call with them this week. A couple possibilities would be that land that they cleared on the backside. If you haven't been there, you can drive around Scott Hollow Road before you get to Harrison's. You'll see it all cleared out. And they're willing to subdivide that and rent it or sell it. The tricky thing is, I talked to Sean Walsh. Sean said the tricky thing is the age of the equipment. That's number one. And the other piece of it is it's not your traditional manufacturing plant like a Vermont Precision Tools or some Superior Technical Ceramics. These are all broken up offices, quality control, chemistry. It's not a clear-cut scenario where a business would look to. And then you've got the dryer tower, which you used to be able to see coming down the interstate. That takes up a good chunk of space. They're going to dismantle, from my understanding, dismantling one of the dryers. So they'll operate with a line moving forward. So the good news is that for everyone who stays on, for those who have been there for a while, they'll get a year's pay, severance.
Not even just the ones who've been there a while, everyone just got hired to work there.
Yeah, if they're there.
He's just started this week, and he gets that offer.
I think he gets 9 months.
Nope, he told me he gets a year.
He does? I heard if you're short term, you got 9 months, but either way.
He'd have to stay
That's
through
pretty
until
impressive.
they go, but yeah, that's
And-
wild.
And benefits as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think they're gonna maintain, although I've also heard that some are starting to look. But it is a good package if people stay there
But they gotta stay there
till the
till the
closing.
close.
Yeah.
Well, especially if they were near retirement or something of that nature, it'd be a great phase out.
So that's, there's not a lot, I don't have a whole lot of good news.
Who the hell are you, Donald Trump?
Ronnie and I talked last month about, or emailed back and forth about the closing of the dispatch center in St. Albans for the railroad.
Yeah.
They had up to 70, they have or had up to 70 employees, dispatch, callers. Ronnie can jump in if I'm wrong, but
Group dollars, yeah.
yeah, crew callers. So if there was a crew on a short line railroad in Nevada and they were over their time, crew callers would call and find the replacements and get them to show up.
Yeah.
Supposedly those have already moved to
Yeah, they
Florida. And then you've got your dispatchers who, I think starting pay was in that 65, 75 range.
Yeah.
And supposedly they said they're having a hard time finding people to fill jobs. So they're advertising in Florida, and I think as they're finding them, they're starting to fill the jobs in Florida as well. So they just built a Bryn Connors,
I
just
was gonna say,
built,
didn't they build a new
2
place
years
in
ago.
Fonda?
brand new building, 10, I don't know what it was, 7 million, whatever it was.
I don't think they pushed the hiring much up here. I think, you know, they almost, I think they could have, they could have went harder at hiring people up here than they did, but that's business, I guess, so. Yeah.
So supposedly they're gonna honor the lease, but, that building was built specifically for this purpose, to keep them here, that when the word first got out, they were looking at going to, Water Tower Hill in Colchester. The city stepped up and said, look, we'll give you land, get a building built, and Connor stepped up and did that, and now they're still moving forward with,
Yeah.
so,
Who owns the building? Does the city own the building?
no,
or-
Connor's.
Oh, okay. Oh,
The city donated the land
right.
to make it work. So those are, and then you had, it's been a year now, but K-Tech closed up in Richford. K-Tech closed, like, they couldn't find help in Richford. They were operating at about 40% of capacity and chose to, the plant, the K-Tech business sold to another entity, but they chose to close it. And my feeling's always been if you can't fill jobs in Richford, then you're gonna be struggling a little bit. So, good news, I must have some good news in there someplace. I mean, the good news is the businesses that were looking for help have closed that gap. I talked to Monica Green today with Vermont Precision. I think she said they have 6 openings out of 250 jobs. So that's good in itself. And she said they gave up on the temp services, and now they're going back to straight advertising and doing their own interviews and all that. And she said the quality of the people they're getting through the door is much better than it had been through, through the temp
I
services.
see Ben & Jerry's is advertising quite a bit.
And Jersey's still looking, Bear Callen's still looking.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of jobs out there if someone has to work. So, a couple, what we're doing with the high schools, I'll touch on this. So we started, FCIDC, have pulled the 5 high schools together, the counselors and career co-op folks, and we're scheduling tours. Like last week, we went to Ben & Jerry's and Mary Calibo. Early April, we're going to Beta Technology. So we're taking high school kids to educate them. I use your word all the time, Brian, industrial tourism. So take them to the plants, educate them about what's available to them, what the benefits are. I try to educate them so when they graduate, they'll know what their options are. DFA has done a survey. I think they had 186 kids reply, of which only 45% had any interest in going to college. So that leaves just 55% of that graduating class, if you will, that, either Marines, tech school, or not Marines, but military, tech school, or find a job locally. So,
How's the Beta plant? What's happening there?
they've done a hell of a job renovating the building. I mean,
Yeah.
going to the building now, it looks like a new plant. They're just doing battery testing there.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many employees they're up to. They had hoped to be about 40, about this time. I don't know where they are. we're going, like I said, we're going in 2 weeks
Oh, yeah,
for
yeah.
the kids to tour. And I think there's 20 kids going on that tour.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of interest.
I just got a tour of the new facility, the
Oh, you did?
manufacturing facility. The second aircraft is off the line and they got enough space to double the manufacturing. They hope to, I mean, they would see a lot of growth at St. Albans, I would suspect, and pretty much they started procuring their motors, then they built them, then they found they couldn't procure to the level of quality. They started procuring their inverters. They couldn't get the quality, so they're making their converters, their inverters. They were buying their wire harnesses. They couldn't get the quality. They couldn't make changes, so they're making all their supply chain is like in the building. And they didn't start out that way, but they've kind of, very few components that they're buying, because it's kind of such a niche and specialized. And the batteries, the same thing. They're making the batteries on the floor. So that growth is going to come north.
It's amazing what the amount of money they invested in improving the old, I mean, the Energizer building was always well maintained.
Sure.
But they took it to the next level. I mean, it's impressive what they invested in that facility. Did they give you any indication about timelines? I haven't been in the new facility. I've had tours of the old one down the street, but not,
I can get you that.
I'm just curious.
My brother Mike and my nephew worked there.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you the exact time frame, but they got a lot of orders. They got Air Force orders, they got UPS orders, they got, they got a lot of orders. The Air Force is looking to buy more. They got these niche missions.
So, to Brian's point, it's gonna be, it will be good for St. Albans and the region for sure. And like I said, the capital investment in that facility is, if nothing ever happens, it's huge in itself. I mean, but I think, if anyone else has any questions for me?
No, I would just say, before they shut the messenger down, I was reading about, some of those tours where some of the kids signed up for jobs right there.
Yeah, so, right, at the end of the tour, we give them a survey, what do you think of the 5 questions? Would you be interested in working here? And I think, one tour, 5 out of 5 said yes. That was Ben and Jerry's one. So, but they weren't aware that those jobs were available to them, so.
Is the co-op on your list for touring, for young people to tour? Because I know they're always kind of challenged for.
No, on this one, it's not. I mean, we did them in the fall. We don't know. What we have left is Beta, and then Beatrice or Mila, and we were going to Perrigo in May, but we've canceled that one.
What about the hospital?
Hospital, we're not doing it as FCIDC, but the tech center's doing it through, and it's not just for nursing. It's the whole.
There's so many.
The whole spectrum of jobs. They are going through the hospital.
Good.
The other thing we did back in August, we were asked by the NDU school district to coordinate an in-service day in August before school started to tour 120 MDU teachers in businesses. So SFDC coordinated. I think we went to Guichewaniers and Boucher's farm up on Nagore Road,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we went there. We went to Customs and Border Protection Station off of 78. Then we hit 10 businesses, Med Associates, Perigo, Ben and Jerry's. Every teacher went to 2 sites. So they knew what was available for so if they're in a conversation with kids, and the kids say, I don't know, there's no place to work. Well, have you looked at going to Ben and Jerry's? Have you looked at contacting the Boucher farm, whatever the case is? And they all also had a tour of the tech center. And supposedly the teacher said it was the best in-service day they had, because
Oh, that's great.
they weren't
That's
aware
great.
they weren't aware what was out
Sure.
there, you know, they've been in the classroom for years, and
Sure.
so that proved it, and we might do the same thing for Maple Run this summer. So,
Nice.
Can I get invited to that?
which one?
If you do it for Maple
Yeah,
Run,
yeah.
that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
I got kids in my car all the time and they're always saying, there's nowhere to work. Yeah, there's lots of places to work.
Walk down Main Street. Signs in
Yeah.
every window.
yeah.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
So they're, Guy Scouts was having the next two coming up, Mylan and Beta.
Awesome.
So they tell them go sign up in the guidance office.
Excellent, I will. Mylan and Beta, you said are up and coming?
Beta's April 9th, and Mylan, I think, is first week of May.
Tell them that's fine.
Any other questions for me?
My nephew just flew aircraft number 1, Santa Monica, then Florida, and then coming back to Vermont.
That's
cool.
The
Yeah,
electric one?
yeah, all the way to California.
On how many chargers, do you know?
Lot, got a lot, but
They've got their state.
it's all about the battery. It's all about the battery. They're building and certifying the aircraft with the assumption they're gonna get 6% improvement per year. And all of a sudden, the math that is,
Technology's gonna come.
the math that's kind of marginal now, depending on the use case, in 5%, 7%, they get 7% a year, the range doubles in 10 years. It takes 6-7 years to certify the aircraft. So they're certifying the aircraft, making the assumption that battery's gonna be there.
And they wanna cut the weight down, right?
Well, yeah, but they could trade battery weight for payload or range.
No, but battery weight's what, 3,500 pounds?
Yeah,
Last
it's-
I knew, and the
it's-
payload was 7,000, if I
Yeah, I think,
remember right.
yeah, and they're already going through, they're taking the pilots out and they're putting a hybrid, like on a Toyota Prius, make it a hybrid, they go 1,200 miles with that aircraft,
Really?
with a non-pilot. So and they got a lot of funding,
A lot of fun, yeah.
a lot of funding, close to $1 billion they've raised.
It's a great place to work, I mean, they treat the employees great, they serve them lunch every day,
Well, what is it? Is it supposed to be like a short haul plane? Is that
Yeah,
what
so the
Richard-
founder is a guy who lives in Bristol, or woman who lives in Bristol, and she's got a company that moves transplants, hearts, eyes, and they get it in the city, they gotta get it downtown. So like, this whole thing was like, how do we go from that last 10 miles, or last 5 miles, quick?
Yeah.
And so that was kind of like and then it's blossomed into, military and UPS and people trying to get that last mile. So, and the maintenance cost is a real factor. So the maintenance of electric engine is so much less than, a gas turbine or those kind of things. So, I mean, there's still a lot of challenges, a lot of things to overcome, but the battery, what St. Albans piece is a huge part of it.
they let you use the simulator,
Yeah.
you don't crash it.
Gentlemen don't talk. That's why it's a simulator. It flies different, but it's pretty straightforward.
No, it's, no.
Yeah.
Anything else for me?
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad you showed up. Give us some
I
And if
information.
you get some extra money, you got a bridge to put in.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
I would say that along the other bad news was, in my mind, I don't know all the finances behind it, but the closure of the co-op store, more or less.
Yeah.
Yeah, they might just well out.
What's that?
They might just well out, or it might just well.
Oh, the existing one? Yeah. But the old one with the, for me anyways, for people in the city, people loved it.
Yeah. Well, I said anytime I went in, there was 9 out of 10 people were farmers.
Yeah. No,
So I can't believe how they were losing money except for they had it overstaffed. So
people loved them, I mean, all the dairy product, everything, I mean, it was,
Yeah.
I was in there 3-4 times, 5 times a week.
Yeah, anything you wanted, they had,
Yeah.
most of it, just about anything.
Yeah, it was an impact for the city for sure.
And now it's just an idle building. Most of it.
So now it's all done by trucks and routes, is that how they're trying to do it now?
No, you can still go in, but they
Still
don't
go
have
in.
much.
With this basically feed, seed, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, mouse traps.
A little bit of medicine and some, couple dog foods and you can order stuff.
How does,
delivered.
how's DFA, how they handle with you guys, how they working with you, the co-op guys?
Oh, we got a little bit of an issue now, but, working through it.
Yeah.
It's a loss, across the board, you know, losing Leon Burt, losing a local contact.
Right,
And Kirsten Bourgeois Kirsten Bourgeois is great to have that contact, but, and so many new people that it's tough to have, build that relationship that we had before with Leon and others.
right.
And it's not, and
Does Harold is still on the board, right? But isn't Harold Horgan with DFA?
yeah, he did, but more on the daily operational
Oh,
piece
okay.
of it, that's it. But it's no different than any other company, like, we're trying to communicate something to Ben and Jerry's. I mean, because of the consolidation across the board with, whether it's Barry Callebaut, Ben and Jerry's, or Superior Technical Service, the local, like Sean Walsh at Fairfield is gone. John Hango at Mylan is gone. I mean, the rotate in and out of Mylan is so quick, you don't get the chance to build relationships. So it makes it tough to really have conversations with them, moving. Whereas before, when you had John and Sean, I mean, you make a phone call, and even Drake Wallace. But now they bring people into work to run the plant. More often than not, they choose to live in Shelburne or Charlotte, and kids go to school someplace else, so you just don't have that opportunity to build relationships. So it makes it tough, and DFA is no different. I mean,
Yeah.
we have a good relationship with Kirsten for sure, but I haven't met the new guy. But
Tom just mentioned, we got a bridge that the state has said they're gonna fix Bridge A, and we wanna fix Bridge B. And we're also, I'm gonna plant your little question your way. So we have 4 lots, parcels that we own, that we're gonna make available to sell. And we're, you have some creative financing things, but we like to squirrel away any proceeds as a possibility and have a kind of a seed fund. Our biggest obligation would be that bridge. So maybe there's a way to talk later about how to leverage,
Maybe
I don't know,
if
maybe we put
somebody- Well, maybe if you know somebody down in Washington that's got a little extra money they wanna get rid of.
maybe if we put a toll on it, we could create a TIF or something, like Tim, have some, with your success with the TIF funding or something, I don't know, it's just, we'll have to.
so has Joe Flynn been up? Have you had Joe?
No, but that's probably, we had a meeting at the wrong level, or to start first, we're gonna follow up with. But that'd be a good idea, have Joe Flynn come up.
That'd be good.
We another thing we're working on is, today, my brother and I just, we're down in Connecticut, we drove back, and, that rest area in Guilford, beautiful rest area. I mean, Dick Sears had a lot to do with getting that built 10, 12 years ago, whatever it was. And we don't have a rest area from Quebec down to get to the rinky-dink one in Georgia. So we've been pushing for more of a welcome center coming in from
Sure.
the Canadian border. And Joe is moving it forward,
Oh, good.
because GSA is doing the big improvement on the Highgate border crossing.
Mm-hmm.
And they need some Vermont land, and so Joe's pushing for a swap to sort of negotiate something for a welcome center, which I think would be huge for our region. catch people before they get to Burlington. But, so that's, I think Joe's
Yeah.
approachable for sure for that conversation.
That's a good suggestion.
Yeah.
But, and have you looked at the VITA infrastructure program?
No,
I'll get your information.
that would be great.
It's specific to town and village infrastructure.
No, I have not.
Okay,
That would be great. I'll email you tomorrow.
yeah,
Okay.
I'll,
Vita,
VITA, yeah, VEDA. But they have money just for the infrastructure bank. What's the bridge cost? Do you know yet?
really.
I don't know, I heard 2 million, two.
They seem to, it seems to be in flux, but, yeah.
2.5.
2.5.
St. Al's give us an estimate.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a bad idea to get a, so what, you know what numbers you're working about?
Yeah.
A few years ago, we got this deal, how long ago was that? Maybe it's 10 years ago, right, Tom? That bridge in a backpack. Instead of building a conventional bridge, they were trying these ones that was gonna be cheaper, it was gonna be faster, more efficient. So when they got all done with this bridge, they wound up with about 1.1 million in it. And originally, I thought it was gonna be around 500,000-600,000. And I talked to Artie one day, and I said, Artie, what the hell would it cost if we just put a conventional bridge in there? He goes, about 500,000 or 600,000. So I had never heard any more about the bridge in the backpack. Have you? I've looked at different states, and he guaranteed if it failed, they were going to replace it. But it's been in there, and it's worked. But when they got all done with it, it was no less expensive. With all the stuff you had to do to it, and the depth you had to go for, hit the bedrock, and all these other problems with it, you know. And I've looked at different places just to see if I think it's a done thing. Didn't turn out to be.
You got past COVID, which was the cause of many increases, right?
Oh, yeah.
But now you got the tariffs that you're gonna, they'll bump the price up because of the tariffs.
Well, I was just thinking the other day, sitting there, I went ahead of something, and I see the concrete trucks, or the powder truck heading up to Canada. I said, well, how much that's gonna increase the price of concrete? You know, the powder's all gonna have that tariff on it, I assume, plus the steel and all the other stuff, you know. Gonna put some added pressure on building and rebuilding.
I was talking to a salesman at one of the maple places, and he had pre-ordered stuff this winter. And one guy ordered 200 barrels, and it was gonna cost him another 10,000, he told me he didn't want them. But then they threw the tariff out for a month, so he put them across the board the next day, where somebody changed their mind.
Yeah.
But they said, you know, like all that maple equipment's gonna be more expensive if they can get it across. Because all the material is getting double tariff one way or the other.
Well, is there anyone here that actually manufactures maple equipment?
In Vermont,
Yeah.
in the United States.
Yeah.
That's what I said, I don't think Dominion and Grimm or any of those guys.
No, I think it's all brought in.
Leader would be the one. I'm not sure.
Right, and that's, the materials will be up on that,
And they're paying 25% because their metal comes from China.
Yeah.
They've been paying the
Yeah.
tariff since Trump's
last year. Well, when you have some good news, come back again, I'd like to see you.
I'll follow up about the Vita.
Yeah, I'll track that down for you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Start with that one. I'm trying to think. Yeah, if I think of another one, I'll let you know.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Well, thank you, Tim, appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
all.
Good seeing you,
Have a
Tim.
good night,
Thanks,
safe
Adam.
drive.
Yep.
May see it some ball games this spring, who knows?
I'm not doing baseball, I'm doing track.
Oh, well,
He would have been one to fill in some of those voids, but. Chose not to, for whatever reason, I don't know. But. See you all, thanks.
yeah, take it easy.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too. else you visiting, or you got something you want us?
No, I got a couple concerns, last questions.
Yep, come up,
Come
sit
right
down.
up.
So I didn't know if any of you knew, but the culvert between my house and the library is fully plugged with the concrete barrier that was there, that's fallen in front of it. Created some serious issues at my house.
So the header, basically the header on the
It's
culvert?
right in front of it, you can't even see the culvert.
In front of
So
the-
basically the water is washing the road out. I had to pump my septic, I pumped it last year, the guy said it's full of water. 5,000 gallons of water, my pumps ran for 48 hours, because the water couldn't go anywhere. It was sitting right in front of the lawn. So that's a serious issue. I know when I was younger, guys go around and check all the culverts for shit at the van. Apparently that's not happening. So that's a serious problem. That needs to be addressed.
Where's, I don't know where he lives.
It's right here on South Road.
Just
Sounds right
below,
by-
just
right
below
by
the
the library.
library.
Oh, right, just right here, okay.
Second concern, we had water going through my barn. So I hired a young man as a young business to divert this water, and he was shut down. I wanna know who authorized the shutdown, and who do I call? I should have got a call. Who do I call that has control of this?
He gets shut down because,
They said the roads were closed.
well, he should have, theoretically, he
I
should come and get
expected
an
a call.
overweight permit. Is that the deal?
What's,
You know, they were closed probably because of the spring.
Right.
Wait.
So,
But
first of
those-
all,
Just a minute, but
we're-
these overweight permits, can't you get, not what they're about?
I do.
No, not during, when they're closed for the,
Not when they're closed for the season, but can't be used.
just, you have to get,
So, biggest thing, the barn is agriculture, I rent it out.
Yeah,
There's cattle in there. I don't want it rotting. It's a historical building. I don't want it rotting. Water going right through the front doors, so we were putting the drainage in and it was shut down. That's not okay. I got thousands of probably not thousands, but hundreds sack trucks all day long agricultural. Same thing, farming's agricultural,
So,
and just shut them down. Not okay.
no, let me just try to figure this out. So, he was there working on it,
Yes,
and they shut him down because.
told him he was not allowed to go any further.
You mean
But that's what I'm asking.
to have
Yeah.
a truck on the road, is that what was said?
Apparently this all happened at Chester's.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened exactly, because I weren't there. But he called me, all shooken up, I said, just leave and go to your next job. I said, I'll take care of it, I'll finish it myself. I just didn't have the time to do it, but I'm just gonna have to make the time to do it. Because now he's gone, I'm gonna finish it.
Right, well, so he was bringing in materials, is that it? Or
He-
stone or
He brought in
whatever?
one load
Yeah,
to fill the pipe,
yeah,
you know, big P,
yeah.
and that was the end of it.
what road was this? Exactly.
South Road,
South
right next to the
Road.
library.
you know, the red barn just outside.
And did he get a name of the person who shut it down?
I am not positive who actually shut it down. I know Jimmy Perry was involved.
Okay.
Well, I guess we're gonna have to find out a little more on this one.
Yeah. I just told him, I said, don't cause no trouble. Go
Yeah,
to your next job, I'll deal with it.
thought that might have gone under, well, back to the culvert first, to solve one problem.
That's,
Yeah, we-
that's a big
So,
problem,
so
yeah.
that needs, is that something more you can take the backhoe and they can pull it out of the front of it?
Yep.
So that would get the water at least out of the yard.
Well, it's kinda calmed down now, but.
Right,
when
but
it
you
was
could-
serious-
Yeah, when it was
Still,
building, it was
it was
probably not
serious.
good.
Yeah, but still gotta be done, because if we get some
Right.
major storms, it's
Right,
gonna
and
be.
it looks like to me, what I could see behind the thing, that the culvert is probably this much higher below the ground. I don't know if that fell off and then it pushed the culvert up,
It's
You know what I
possible.
mean? So it's so
Yeah.
high in the air, the water wants to go underneath it.
Yeah. Definitely have to,
How big a culvert is it?
It looks a little small, I don't know. I mean, there's a serious spring somewhere up by the old fire station that comes down through there like you wouldn't believe.
yeah,
It's serious. Like, so most of the time you can't walk up there.
because it's so
Because there's
saturated.
so much water, I don't know, possibly the water district has a leak they don't know about. I don't know if they can detect that, possibly,
Yeah,
it's possible.
I
No.
drained the Flusham there, and they've been watching the
They've been good.
They,
They
they
got-
found their big leak down there.
Right, they found one down,
There's a spring.
it's gotta be a spring. I think it's been doing it for years. It's never been a problem until that concrete let go and
Drop.
poof.
yeah,
I mean, I had water a foot and a half deep in my basement, shut my furnace down, I had to repair that. It was ridiculous. My tub had 18 inches of water roughly, almost going over the top. Because the water could not go anywhere,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, that part, something we can address tomorrow,
Right,
get it down and
right.
get it out of there, so if we don't get some heavy
Right.
rains, you don't have it happen
Right,
again.
it's gonna happen again.
It
If
will
it does
happen.
rain, it's gonna happen,
And then can investigate the culvert itself, just to see,
yeah. See if it's capable of doing it.
right, or you may have to reset the culvert or something, right?
Right.
If it jacked it up,
Yeah. It looks like the frost might have grabbed it.
it jacked it up.
So
Every
the
year it
concrete
moves
fell
it a
off
little
the top, went down in the hole, and then
Yeah.
it looked like the culvert raised. I'm not positive, but possibly.
Well, there's one side of the problem we can resolve.
Right.
On the other part, I don't know, how have you handled that in the past, do you recall? I don't ever remember.
I've never had nobody had issues with it so far.
I don't know.
And I've been on board for,
Usually
It
we
was
try to
very
work with people.
huh?
It was very strange.
Yeah,
to
I
get
was
the
gonna say,
call.
we usually try to work with people to make
Right,
things.
I figured I'd get a call or something. I said, no. I said, he was upset, and I said, just leave it alone.
Yeah,
Was that last week? Was it,
Yes.
do you remember what day it was?
Let me think.
I'd be Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, it's the only days Chester's.
I think it was Monday. I think it was Monday.
Now they close on Monday.
Oh, Tuesday.
There you
It was probably Tuesday.
No, they're closed Tuesdays too.
you know, you can get a late breakfast,
Either
or
way.
muffin or some coffee or something, I don't know, I don't go over in the morning much anymore, but anyway, it could have been handled much nicer, let's put it that way.
That's what I was trying to say.
It- Yeah, little smoothness can go quite a ways.
Exactly.
Quite a ways. Well, we can find out about that for what we can.
Yeah.
We can,
Yeah.
I always thought, like, sometimes in logs and stuff, if it froze hard at night, we'd give an exemption. If the roads were frozen, that they wouldn't do damage to the roads.
Right.
go. That's different than bringing a load of stone in.
They had a little stone there. And he could finish his work, I don't know. The excavator could have finished his work, so.
We don't have enough stone though. It's not full yet.
So you need another load of stone or something,
Yeah. Which I'm not gonna hog him. He's done the job.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you're still gonna get some stone there sometime.
I am gonna, but I'm just gonna let it be the way it is right now and
Yeah,
clean it up the best I can and finish it later.
well, I guess the best we could say we could do is try to investigate and see what,
And see what happens.
yeah, make things a little smoother.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you guys had to go through in that manner, because there's
Yeah.
no reason it had to be that abrupt,
No.
I guess. You know,
So are you putting tile in front of your barn
So we
trails and
put
putting
a-
it over to that ditch?
Yeah, so we put tile and we put a head in there to accept it too, so it's just
Yeah.
a straight pipe.
yeah,
Cause the pipe that Albert had in that driveway was crushed. I think it
Yeah.
was old, almost looked like septic pipe. It was
that Orangeburg
that
stuff,
orange stuff that crushes.
Yeah.
Just crumbled.
yeah,
Been there for years. I remember used to go out and dig it out when I worked for Albert. We dig it out all the time. We keep it clean because it
Yeah.
became a problem.
yeah, fill
And it
out,
finally was done. You know,
yeah. Well, Like I said, all we can do is try to find out a little bit more about
I figured
it.
I'd come up and
Well, no,
let you guys
I'm
know.
glad you brought it up.
Yeah, glad you did.
This issue.
Yeah,
Glad you did.
yeah, because
Yeah.
if we aren't aware of it, we can't address it in
Exactly,
some
yeah.
manner, so.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll try to do something for you.
Well, very good. That was it.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Have a good night.
Yeah.
You too.
Well.
I have one thing for the town clerk.
Okay.
You wanna wait, well, before he leaves, we'll go into. a
Yeah, executive session.
and discuss this internally,
Yeah.
but go ahead.
Just from Linda, Devon Lumber wants to hunt on the town forest off G. Gerbode Road. And we weren't sure what the process is. Do we just say yes, that's fine? It's a town
Is it
owned forest.
posted?
I'm not sure.
I mean, we rent the trees out in the woods out. I don't know that we've ever restricted somebody from hunting up there. I don't recall it, but.
If it's not posted,
Yeah,
they don't even have to
I think
ask.
I think
It's
it was
courtesy, yeah, I would
courtesy.
say courtesy.
yeah. I think he was asking out of courtesy. Okay.
I mean, I would think you would wanna just talk to Gary that you're gonna be hiking up there.
Public land.
Yeah, it's public woods, public forest, so it's.
Maybe he'll get some squirrels.
Be nice to,
Right, just let them know you're in there.
Get that pipeline.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a few 10 dead squirrels.
Yeah. You need venison stew. Okay, and that's it for her. She's just,
Okay. Do you have a whole pile of stuff?
I do, I mean, just.
So why don't we go in executive session for,
you got anything before that, Morris?
It just about the greater prices, I brought them, and the furnace came for the garage today.
oh, did arrive, good,
Yeah,
good.
How the greater prices look.
yeah. Trade in and price of grader, there's a 676 and a 772. Trade-in value, the one we got, is 87.5. And that's with the wing taken off and graphite diggers in front. It can be put on a new grader.
So what's a full list?
Full list is, the list is, for the 772 is 683.
And what brand is that one?
John Deere, Tim Parvert.
672 is the model number.
Yes, no, yeah, model number, I got two of them. 672 and 772,
And what did they want to offer for the old one?
87 traded.
I'd say we'll drive that other one till it goes in the ground. That, for that little bit offered, in comparison. Holy crap.
I mean, that's just, sell, list price, the selling price is 378, trade-in 87. Balance due on, 672 at 290,000.
How many hours on that grader, Mo?
7,100.
What do you start to think about? 7,000-8,000 miles on a grader, or what's?
Hours, those are all
And the
hours.
last one had close to 15, didn't it?
Yeah, 14, 15,000.
The reason we had to trade in, because at that point, they couldn't get, it was a Champion, was a breed of it, and you couldn't get the computer board. So the thing, they had to manually get out and shift it manually.
So it had 15,000 hours?
Yeah,
Yeah.
work
The
hours.
one before they bought this one.
Oh, I see what you were talking about. Suggested list,
Yeah.
selling price.
Yeah.
What do they want for the new one?
For this one right here, the selling price, $378. You wanna take a look before I hand it up?
It's not as bad as I expected.
What was the 772 cost?
That's the
After
retail,
trade-in.
Yeah.
suggested price.
Manufacturer's suggested price or something, I don't know. Cause the last one we bought, it was I think it was a lease deal that came in, had about, did it have 3 or 800 hours on it?
No, I didn't have a, three.
3. And it was a
So
return
actually
lease.
it's- The trade for that grader is 290,500. Right?
That's the way I'm reading that, yeah.
Yeah, not 600, so that's a lot.
That was
That's
just,
the list.
I'm gonna say, Mo, you could try to get people to
No,
wake
I
up.
just, it said list in it, and that's what it is.
Cause we originally tried out a case 2, didn't we?
Yeah,
Before we bought the John Deere.
yeah.
And we got that deal offer on the John Deere that came back with that 300 hours. And that's, and it's been a pretty good rig, right? You have-
Yeah, yeah. It does work right when it's out there.
Yeah. And it constantly helping.
So,
And what's the other one you got, Mo?
That's a 772 and it's $27,000 more.
Was that bigger rig?
Yeah, a little bigger, a little bit more horsepower and 3 ton heavier. And the hydraulics are quicker. They said, town of Enosburg got one. That's one Joey just got last year.
Okay.
And Fairfax, I forgot who they're attending there. Highgate maybe.
so is Case and Cat, are all those still making, or don't?
I called him and he got hold of me last week. And I heard a thing.
Seems like the last time we did a lot chasing around with them to get a quote out of them or something.
He got my cell number and I said the town garage number and he got back to me, which I was hoping he did, but he,
Yeah. Well, at least we got an eyeball number that kinda,
yeah, you guys gotta, and
and this would be identical model to the one you have, or similar model, let's put it that way.
Well,
the
apparently
672 will be, and this is.
Pretty good, because you can change the.
Right,
Right,
wing and
wing and the
yeah.
stuff
gas,
on it.
gas fires that are going front.
Like, yeah, scarf,
We'll do that,
Scarf.
we'll take it off and put it on a new grader.
yeah.
And but just the scarf fires are $8,000 and I don't know, I think when you guys bought it, I think it was like 40,000 for that
For the
package,
yeah.
no wing and stuff, so.
Well, at least we got one basic number to start with.
And Tim saying that's a price, I don't know how long, but, before the tariffs kick in. I just had, that's what he said, I had to throw it in.
Yeah. Right now, you don't have any major problems with the
No.
one we have at this point.
No,
Just put new tires on it.
Yeah,
the front, two front, we probably fall,
we'll have to replace
Have
the
we
whole.
put 4 new ones on the back?
we did back, but,
That was,
yeah,
no, just recently.
no,
It didn't seem that long ago.
no, it don't, it's, like I say, it's
It's going to take a couple summer, it'll be 2 summers this year, won't it? We put the back ones on?
probably,
Yeah, I'm thinking roughly in
we
that,
had put 2 on the front
yeah.
last summer.
Well, at least it gives us some numbers to be,
Yeah. No idea working with it.
yeah.
Do you mind a case quote? I mean, I got a
No,
call,
I don't have, no, I don't mind case go.
I got a call Bear Guards for the loaders, so I'll just see if Jesse's got anything or any prices. I don't know who is the salesman down there now, or if they even have one, now that
Yeah, I mean,
Kurt's gone.
yeah, it'd be good to,
Well,
least
just
have
to get
Some different numbers,
a
yeah.
numbers,
So is this Nortrax, is that who this is?
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
So you got there?
yep, that's all I got there.
no other major problems going on with equipment or?
No,
If you get a chance, can you send Jake over with the backhoe to take that windrow off the beach
yep,
before the water gets too high?
yep,
Cause right now it's all piled right up, it'd be good to scoop it right off. if you got time.
Yeah.
Have you had to deal with that dam much? Since we've.
No, once in a while, they,
Oh, I mean, you mean
Well,
winter time, there's not much activity right
no,
now.
Right.
but what they go over 2-3 times, maybe 3.
In the fall, right?
Yeah, with the
Yeah.
backhoe and.
That's when they do most of their building
Yeah.
or whatever they do.
I go by there and I'll like stop and look around.
Yeah.
Boys, go down, don't take very long, take longer to get there than
Yeah.
the job.
Yeah.
Well, I'd make a motion and we go executive session for personnel.
You?
Someone make a motion to accept the minutes of March 10th?
So be it.
Someone second it?
Second?
Is there any discussion or changes you want before take a vote to accept? If there isn't, call a vote. All in favor?
Right.
Anyone opposed? No, that's done. Then we should do the ones for
March 12th.
March 12th, yep. Will someone make a motion to accept those?
So be it.
Seconded?
Second.
Is there any discussion or changes you'd like before we vote to accept? If there isn't, all in favor?
Right.
Right, well, those are done. So I guess, Kathy, you could start.
Might as well do the warrants and get them done.
Oh, yeah.
Make a
Might as well
motion.
do the warrants and have them done, go out.
And make no sure I leave.
Yep,
That's one of
we
them.
make a motion, you get the hell out of here.
That sounds better.
See you later, Mo.
Well,
Good night, Mo.
Yeah. So if someone make a motion to accept the warrants?
Yep.
Yep, seconded.
Second.
Is there anything in there you want to talk about or change before we approve them? If there isn't, all in favor?
All right.
Aye. Yep, that's done. Oh. So now Kathy,
So, so after the town meeting, we have a certain amount of weeks before we have to submit our annual financial plan to the district. So this is just confirming the amount of money that was, that we estimate for class 2 and 3 roads,
so I
town
got the
tax
minutes done
funds, and
warrants.
the money that we expect to have for, in our budget. So
I just figured we.
I just need you
Yeah,
all
no,
to
it's
sign
fine.
this.
This is just that we're all in compliance and all
That
this?
we're, yeah, that it's that we're spending more than the minimum of what the state expects us to spend for our town highways. So that's basically, it happens every year. If we can just
Just
keep
set that.
it going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
was all silence right here.
And then, so I reached out to the engineers for bids on the North Road culvert, and Dubois and King, who engineered the sidewalks, respectfully declined. I haven't heard back from Hoyle and Tanner, I'm not really sure how to say that. But I expect a bid from Tyler by the next meeting.
Okay.
Let's see. So, a couple things, FEMA related. One is that our hazard mitigation plan is expiring this year. It was redone in 2020. It needs to be redone again, and it's basically a prerequisite for all of the hazard mitigation grants and all of the preventative or disaster-related monies that could become available to us. So without having a hazard mitigation plan, we wouldn't qualify for those funding sources.
Doesn't matter, they're closing FEMA.
Right.
Should say the same thing.
It's crazy, I know. So
FEMA's going to,
FEMA,
Huh?
FEMA's going
It's
to.
been
Yeah.
suggested.
That's this week, that's on his agenda
What
this
is
week.
that?
so this week, I did hear from Colleen Bailey, who is Fairfield's Community Coordinator Officer for FEMA Region 1. So anyway, I just want you to know that this is something that we have to consider doing this year.
Sometime this year.
Yeah, it has to be done by the end of the year.
What's wrong with copying the one we have?
It's old, it doesn't include a whole bunch of things, and it's also a whole process. So it's another one of those things that you have to engage the community in, and we shouldn't probably even touch it until we finish the current thing that we're doing.
I
with
suggest we hold
zoning.
off at least for a while to see if there is such
Yeah.
an agency left.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and there's money
Probably.
available, anyway, we're
Yeah.
not there yet, I just don't want it to come out
All of a
as,
sudden, we gotta deal with it.
yeah, exactly, here it
Yeah.
is, so.
Who does that? So through redo planning or?
There's money available through the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities Program. Sean Coleman from NRPC is the one who made sure that I knew that this was
Do,
due. And he's, so once you have the money in hand, you have to go out to bid for, the people to do it. And NRPC is one of the entities that does that.
so within the next couple of months, we should
We
get
should
serious
think
about it.
Yeah, yeah,
I would say that's something we should put on the agenda for like June or
June.
something,
yeah, that makes
so,
sense.
so we don't slide by.
Okay. Also, so FEMA also was so Colleen Bailey is the community coordinator officer for this region from FEMA. And I emailed 3 of you, we're invited, so apparently starting in 2019, they have been updating Fairfield's flood hazard mapping and have done some engineering and new engineering analysis of some of our rivers. And she's inviting us in a couple weeks to an online meeting to review the work maps that they've been working on. So I'm planning on going to that. If you all want to go to that too, I can set up. You can either log in or I can set it up in this office, in this room, and we can do it together. So you can just let me know. That's Tuesday, April 8th at 9 a.m. So that's it for roads other than, let's see, I guess that's it for roads. So I did get a message that Eleanor Wirtz is stepping down from her position at the community center. I'm not really sure what that means for office or programs or events or anything at this point, but I just wanted to give you a heads up. She sent a notice and wanted you all to know.
How long has she been there, 6 months?
I don't think so. It hasn't been very long.
When they had that thing for Wayne,
Maybe it
Debbie
has been
Parody.
6 months.
She's probably been there 6 months.
yeah,
Goes by quick.
yeah, that was in last fall, so,
I guess so.
well, it's too bad.
So she and I had a brief conversation at one point about the fact that we have to renew the lease. Their lease is up. So she's made a few notes, and at some point, whoever is the person down there to talk to about the lease, and that's again by the end of the year, so it's not a big deal.
Why don't we just get it done? Copy the lease that's there, it's $1 a year,
Yeah.
move on, don't.
This
we
is
don't
what
need
you
to
got,
even
this is what
talk
you get
about
for
it.
$1.
Okay.
I agree with you on that one.
Don't waste.
No need to drag it
time
out.
for
I just don't know
records.
who, I guess it would be the board. I'll figure out who to sign,
Call
somebody has
Julie,
to
call
sign
Julie
it.
Wolcott, she's the chairman of their, say, here's the lease, it's done, let's get.
Okay. I'll do that this week.
But it literally should be a 5-minute thing. Copy
Yeah.
it, there's no lawyer, it's
Yeah.
just.
Yeah, absolutely.
Boom, done.
There were a couple things with the lease that we executed next door that we had to change by law that I'll just copy and paste and put into this one too. Just sort of weird language, but,
Keep us, copy what's
yeah,
there.
copy is
Yeah.
just the regular stuff.
No, I'm saying, keep what's there with them the way it is.
It's an old lease,
Yeah,
It's 10 years old.
yep,
Okay.
it
so
works. It's
some of
$1 a
it-
year lease. It's,
they're paying the rent on time up here.
Oh, yeah, they
Perfect.
pay in advance, actually.
Perfect.
Quarterly, I think.
Okay,
So I'm writing a municipal planning grant due the end of this week, for the common school. We had talked about it last week. You said that it was okay. It was a $30,000 grant. It's for sort of updating the schematic design, in preparation for capital campaigning and grant, and, more thorough grant writing. Right now, what they have is not good and not enough for grants. So there are a couple things that we need signed in order to apply for the grant. One is, these are just attachments to the grant. One is the FY25 municipal resolution that you all want us, that you agree that we can do this. Melissa needs to sign this one on page 1, and then the rest of you is page 2.
Can we just have Tom sign for the board?
It says legislative body. Tom is written on the front as the person, so that's what it says. We should.
Is there any plan or direction? Have you guys had any meetings? Or?
Well, the meeting last week, we got canceled, kind of.
I went to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not up to speed. I haven't been going to them.
Right.
But for the grant, because you had said we could move forward. Downstairs, I think the vision is downstairs is recreational, and upstairs they're still trying to figure out what to do with. But there are 3 things that sort of have to go simultaneously. One is the vision, which they have, but they have to kind of fine tune. One is the work around fundraising, and one is sustainability. How do you know, what kind of a board?
I guess I'd like to hear more about it. But I mean, we're gonna dump $30,000 just into a planning grant. I'm not keen on, because eventually it's gonna fall in our lap, and
But $30,000, this is a grant for $30,000 to have a planning.
Right.
It's not,
Is
we're
that
taking
to make a
$30,000 out of
Right.
town money.
But I just want to make sure that we're keeping up
Right,
with
that
what's
we-
going on. The committee's not going way ahead, and
Ron's not going wild.
well, I just
Place here.
No, I don't think
No,
we should
yeah,
be
not
aware of
this
what's
one.
happening. I mean,
I haven't seen anything yet.
Just on the,
Yeah.
on the second.
and I understand some of this, they got us doing phases to get started.
you start talking 30,000, you dump that into it, and then, oh well, you got to do this next stage for 100,000, and that building's
Yeah.
So we're not doing, I mean, last meeting, we talked about it, and you said go ahead, and this meeting, it sounds like we're not a go ahead. Is that right?
Well, no, I think apply for the grant
Okay.
myself. I mean, just apply, as long as it's not money we're taking out of town taxpayers.
There's no match or anything to that grant.
It's $3,000 match. And you
I'd
had
like to
talked at
sit
the
down with
last
the committee
meeting.
and
I mean, you can
You're welcome to be on the
go ahead
committee
and
at
talk, yeah,
that.
go ahead and talk with the group.
I mean, do they have anything written that you've seen or that you're like,
To me, it's kind of stuck in the mud. You know, it's so hard to benefit from that school.
right? And that's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm not saying not look into it, but I thought that was kind of the point of the committee was let's look at some vision, some 100,000 foot flyby
Yeah.
views, and I don't want to get suckered into dumping money into it.
Yeah, this is just to update the design that we already have on paper, so that if we find grants, we can write them, because right now we don't have that design at a shovel-ready place. And
Right.
and I haven't been at the meeting, so I'm not sure if you want to talk with Greta, or there is a share drive with all of the documents and the meeting minutes and all of the vision, and they did sort of a presentation last year.
Is there anybody on the committee? Is it just kind of stuck in the mud?
Well, no, there's a committee. I mean, they get a regular committee with minutes and the meetings and everything, but as far as I'm concerned, there's no vision that's.
What we're gonna do with this thing. Now, if
But
we-
that's
if
what
we
I'm
get-
saying, a $30,000 plan to update the design that didn't work 5 years, 10 years, 15 years ago is not moving forward in my mind. It's dumping money in a pit, and some engineering firm is gonna say, oh, this
We
is,
can have Greta and, come here with the,
Greta's regional planning.
Yeah, but she lives in
But
Fairfield.
she's only doing it as a
That's
Fairfield
right.
resident.
Right,
Okay,
she,
that's
as a
right.
resident of
Yeah.
Fairfield. I guess the biggest thing is, what do we hope is gonna happen long-term there?
Right.
That's what we're,
But then that's kind of what I thought the committee was, not, I mean,
yeah.
updating the plan is not seeing a vision. That's, you're rehashing the same thing that didn't work 10 years ago.
So I'm pretty sure last year they came together and presented the priorities that the group had come to. And from there, they've created potential action steps, one of which is grant writing. There's also so 3 things: restoration. There's the program vision, which they just really, I think it's just about tweaking the program vision. They had it last year. They presented it last year here as a circle. They came and sat in a circle and told you.
Right, but I guess what I'm
And
saying
then-
is they need to report to us. And
That's
we
where
need to
they are
kind of
at
be
this point.
overseeing it, and I don't think we've really gotten a full, hey,
What
this
what
is.
their vision is, or whether,
Right.
at what point of long-term,
I'm just afraid this is, the committee starting to say, hey, we're gonna take off and go this way. And
Yeah, so
If
last year
I'm-
they
if you
also
guys don't agree,
applied
that's-
for,
Well, I think the chances of getting a grant, I mean, I'm the one who said, we're done. And in response to a couple of people saying that, the committee was formed, they reacted, they came and made their pitch. I remember it, and that's kind of where we're at. So, I mean, I think the question before us is, you're on the committee.
Yeah.
So, I'm comfortable if someone wants to pursue a grant for $3,000, but
it's 30,000 and we've got to match 3, is
Three.
that?
Yeah,
30,000.
yeah, sure, I'm saying, I'm comfortable
Yeah.
if the committee feels like, that would help provide some structure to what you're, the viewpoint you're raising, I'm sympathetic to that, but to show, I think it's a heavy lift for the community.
Yes.
I acknowledge that, but if they did come, we did hear them, I don't think this is time sensitive, we could say, come back.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
do.
I think it was early in the planning, and
Yeah.
I mean, they presented, kind of, but there's not enough direction for me to
Yeah.
bear that burden on the community.
Well, there's 4 people that have signed it, so.
Yeah, no, that's,
Yeah,
yeah, and there's,
I'd say,
I haven't been at the meetings, but my understanding is that they put a lot of
here's what,
hours
we got
into
4
this
signatures
plan.
on that, so if we're comfortable, I say, hand them that and we'd invite the committee for an update, have a conversation.
Yeah.
And it's a
Okay.
heavy lift, it's a
It
heavy
is a
lift.
heavy lift.
yeah.
And I hear what you're all saying, it is a heavy lift, and again, the risk is, I don't wanna get sucked in, I'm not a manager of a building, I don't do that.
Yeah, you're not,
but
that's,
You know
yeah,
what I mean, and part
Yeah.
of it is that you all don't wanna be that either, so
yeah.
a big piece of this is,
No, but
You
it's
can't
not
just-
that we don't want to be the manager of the building. The future of that building, we asked a committee to look at
What's
and come up with an
realistic?
idea of what's realistic,
Yeah.
Right.
not,
Thank you.
and I
Apply
guess
for a
we,
grant.
right, I don't,
Well, let's invite, the group to
committee,
come back.
okay.
Yeah,
Or a spokesperson for them or something, Julie and Greta or whatever.
sure.
yeah, but
yeah,
there,
there's a team, a
there's-
group, I'm not sure, Ron, who's been at that group?
Yeah, I'll email.
Good, great.
Okay.
before we get too far, Kathy, this, the
Is this
sign
the
off
one we sent up? with
for the highways.
Yeah.
Yes. I do that.
So there's an income part on top with estimated numbers. That's what we estimate the state is gonna pay us. That's what
Yeah,
we,
based on the calculation that they provide to us and the total number of miles in each of those categories. And I work on that with District 8.
okay, so we estimate they're gonna give us $1.3 million. Right,
So if you read through, it talks about,
Well, I don't know, Dave, are you gonna sign this or not?
no, I don't know.
so class 2 roads, this is what the state will give us.
Yep.
Class 3 roads, this is what the state will
Yep.
give us. Our tax funds is the balance, which is this
Okay,
minus,
okay.
so these are subtracted out of the total revenue for the highway. So this is what it comes down, like, if you add those 3 things up,
Yep,
that's what, the total, expenses for the highway is. But then we have these other things that we do. We have these grants.
right, so this is the state giving us money for roads. This is us putting money into roads.
And this
These
is
are grants
grants.
and whatnot.
Yep, and then the expenses and So the revenue and the expenses have to be equal. So this is broken out into winter maintenance, non-winter maintenance. The major construction projects are
Yep,
pretty,
but that just shows that we're spending the 300.
it shows how much,
Per
how much money are we spending on our roads per mile.
I just wanna calculate. Thank you.
Let's see, what else? Where is okay. So, the rest of it is purchasing policy update and properties process. Which is,
Since I was the one who asked that we defer the purchasing policy, I've read it a couple times. I didn't see anything, yeah, I'm more comfortable with the docs. I am unclear, and I would like your recommendations and others at the table about what would be the appropriate levels, for the purchase, for the numbers, where we trigger this, and maybe the VLCT or some other, but
I actually have some numbers in my office that I forgot to bring in. I can bring in now, or we can do that.
okay. Well, I was just saying that I didn't see anything that was kind of redundant or complex. I thought it was pretty straightforward.
Right, it was just, seems like the number triggered should have been higher, if I remember.
I think that's what kind of kicked off our, like when we
Because
were
it kind of adjusted
talking
for
about Tyler.
inflation and all
Grab,
that other
I'm gonna
stuff.
grab that.
We raised the bar.
Yeah, because it was, something that was put in 15 years ago, it's not gonna be realistic.
The other thing we were talking about was like,
Our
tire,
engineer, yeah.
Yeah,
right?
I think she talked with him after our meeting on this 12th.
Right, but how does that fit into that? Do we,
I think that's a side agreement. We'll ask.
this could be like a lawyer, right? I mean, those are two things that.
yeah.
Yeah,
we
just
should
like
have
IT.
indicator on. Right.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that,
Right, I mean,
by having him have stuff planned ahead, we qualify for more things, because we've already done the planning.
And he does, I think he's reasonable.
Yeah, he's
available,
reasonable.
and knows-
Did you have a agreement with Tyler that we would treat Tyler's engineering services like we treat IT, or was there after?
We can do that, according to the current, so if you turn to do you have a copy of the purchasing policy in front of you
You got the draft one?
from last week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do
Thank
you
you.
want a copy?
You're okay, keep going.
Yeah,
Okay, so,
we'll be done.
so your question was, can we do that? So if you look at the last page of our purchasing policy, under professional services, the only thing that we don't have in our purchasing policy regarding engineering is a value of up to. I don't know if you wanna do that, you
Oh,
don't have
okay.
to.
Okay. Well, let's start at the beginning. Let's fill in the blanks here on page 1.
Okay, so firstly, I just want to say there were two things that, when I looked at the VLCT in other towns, there were two things that stuck out. One was that the other purchasing policies provided guidance to employees, as well as providing levels of expenses and how much money. So we didn't have actual purchasing agents written anywhere into the purchasing policy. The first thing that would be changed in this particular draft is that there would be the addition, you would be adding the purchasing agents identified.
Yeah.
Does that seem reasonable? Okay.
Yeah, I think everyone, unless there's objections, I think we're all in agreement.
Okay. So the incidental purchases, we don't have such a thing, but it's really allowing people to make purchases up to a certain amount of money without prior approval, not necessarily talking to you all, with a certain up to a certain number. I was thinking between incidental purchases and minor purchases, we're talking like up to 5,000 for the first, and between 5,000 and 15,000 for the second. The difference between incidental and minor purchases is minor purchases that's when we come in and we say, we'd like a carpet, you know, and you're gonna talk to us about it, or, we'd like to, you know, purchase a thing that makes sense for us, and, you just talk to us. And then it's not required, but competitive quotes from 2 vendors are encouraged.
Okay, so what's the number for incidental purchases?
So
Purchases up to
incidental,
what?
I was thinking up to 5,000,
That seems a little high.
3,000?
I would say 2 would be plenty under
2,000.
under incidentals.
Okay,
I'm gonna say,
Yeah, let's put 2 and we'll evaluate.
okay.
Yeah, we can always come back to this thing.
Sure.
So then minor purchases would be between 2,000 and,
I would think, when we're talking minor purchases, you're talking like a computer or something of that nature?
it was like she said,
Yeah, so this
For
would,
example-
these, the minor purchases would only after, or prior approval of the select board. So, what are we saying, like 2 to 10 or
2
something?
to, yeah, 2, I was thinking 5 to 15, but 2 to 10 makes sense.
That seems, I could live with that.
Is that cool, Dave?
So-
Okay, major purchases.
Major purchases means all of the above would happen with the select board. Plus, you would make sure that there were at least 2 bidders and the qualifications were clearly outlined. So it's still not, the total, it's not a bidding process. It's an estimate process, so a bidding process is posted in all the places, and it goes out, you have the sealed bid process. Major purchases would be like having a contract with somebody but not wanting to do a whole sealed bid process. Like excavating or whatever.
The floor,
What was that?
the floor.
Yeah, the floor, things like that.
Well, so major is over $10,000? Is that what?
Yeah,
One thing I did like is, under minor purchase, like if we go out for a quote over $10,000 and we only get 1 bid, but we gave our best, can we make a selection?
So
yeah,
What's that, Dave?
you can do it.
minor, an employee or a purchasing agent can spend up to $2,000.
Mhm.
2 to 10, Kathy comes in and says, hey, I want a new desk and carpet.
Yeah.
We have a little discussion, we get it done. Over 10, we're talking about bids.
No, over 10, we're talking about so between 2 and 10, we're talking about, you're gonna say, it would be great if you could get 2 bidders, you know, or you could say maybe not, you know, it's really up to you.
Discussion, okay.
Yeah,
What do
and
we do over
then
10?
major purchases are, you want to get vendors, a certain number of vendors to give estimates within a certain amount of, so it's from a more competitive but not a bidding process.
Right, but we're not gonna ask Joe Excavator to come bid, because a $10,000 excavation job is not major.
Right,
That's an afternoon's work.
right, it's not a bidding process, it's just an estimate, like you would get Joe to give an
Right,
estimate.
right, but
Somebody else to give an estimate.
it may come, you know what I'm saying, you may hire the local excavator to replace 2 culverts, and it turns into, you know, a half mile of road, or, it doesn't
Ditching.
take, $10,000 isn't much when you're working with an excavator. I don't wanna go bid,
Yeah, I think that what we're talking about is what we just talked about with Mo. When we were just talking to Mo about, you know, you're looking to make sure that everything, all of the dots are, you know, everything's dotted, everything is T'd. You have different options, you've had a thorough conversation, you've gone back and forth with people. You know, there are qualifications, there's a real list of things that you're looking for specifically. But you don't have to go back and forth for like a bidding.
So are you thinking like 20,000? The minor
no, I'm just, there's, $10,000 applies differently, right? When you're talking about,
I think it.
doing technology in the office,
Yeah.
$10,000 isn't hard to get 3 bids. But when you're talking $10,000 in excavation,
Yeah,
whether it's after a storm or just a
Right,
small
right.
road project, you start, get an excavator, a dozer, 2 trucks and some gravel, and you spend 10 grand in a hurry, that's not a big job. And it may not be planned ahead where you have time to bid it or wanna bid
Do
it.
you wanna put that in the smaller, the other bucket, where you don't have to get?
Do you wanna do 2 to 15 in the other bucket, and then 15 plus in that one?
I don't know where the number is, I'm just trying to make sure that we catch.
Well, even this major, when I read major purchases, it doesn't even say we have to do the competitive.
Yeah, no, it's just more of a thorough, real analysis of
Yeah,
what are you
and then-
looking for and why are you needing it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm comfortable with saying major purchases over 10K, just require prior approval of the select board. I mean,
Yeah, that aligns more with talking to Mo, saying we're gonna work on Pumpkin Village, I'm gonna get a blaster, I'm gonna get a tree guy.
Yeah.
yeah, well, let's put 10K in there.
So,
Major purchases, and then we go flip the page and we go, for major purchases between X and X.
10 and 50, for example, that's when you get the 2 qualified bidders, like required. You know, and I'm just saying 50 because the actual amount that's on the VLCT is like $250,000. Nobody has that as the minimum for a bidding process in any areas, so, that I've seen. So large purchases with a value, and it can be a dollar amount of up to $250,000. Purchases at or exceeding $250,000 is what kind of triggers a problem with FEMA and the federal government, so that's what they talk about, but really.
Right, and we're talking town projects, once we go
Right,
federal,
exactly.
it's gonna trigger their.
Yeah,
Right.
that's-
I agree with Dave though on your thing, I mean, you know, they've always done it, just kind of local guys, and, you know, like you say, sometimes it's gonna be 25,000, depending on what the job is.
Right,
Yeah.
and how do you define job, the Pumpkin Village road job, there's a blaster, he's only $4,500, you're not gonna get 3 guys to bid on that. There's a 5,000 in excavation.
Yeah, but those would all be under that's in the minor purchase.
So we classify each individual?
Yeah,
Not
definitely.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
just kinda what I'm.
Definitely.
Well, it's a whole job though.
Right, but for each individual, you
Yeah, it's
break
the
it into
individual.
the, like you say, the blaster, the tree guy,
That's just how I wanna make sure that we're reading
Yeah.
it, not,
right?
Yeah,
So,
not complicating it.
right,
'cause it's
this should be
just-
simple, not.
Yeah. I agree.
Well, I'm on the second page, for major purchases, a value between 10K and 50K, I wanna say, rate quotations. I wanna say the goal should be to solicit at least 2 qualified vendors.
It does say that.
It does?
Yeah.
It says shall be obtained. Oh, quotations, okay, I got it. Quotations, so we're soliciting quotations.
Right.
Okay,
From
that's
at
cool.
least 2 qualified vendors to
Okay,
ensure.
Thank you.
And you can say purchases over 10,000 require prior approval without those, and then you could do 15,000, between 15 and
I'd go
50,000.
higher than 15.
Yeah, between 15 and 50 is what I was suggesting.
Oh, 15 and 50?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would go even higher than that. That way we can use the other
20.
part to do what you're talking about.
She's
What do you
saying
wanna- you
go,
wanna-
Well, I'd go 20.
at
20
20,
to
you have to have
50?
2 quotes.
Yeah.
20 to 50?
Yeah.
Okay.
That would make more sense. At 10, we're gonna have a good discussion about it, we'll think about a quote.
Right.
But over 20, 25, we should probably get some
Yeah.
quotes. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Okay.
Because that leaves the $15,000 job still in the other bucket. So-
Yeah. Doesn't mean we can't get quotes. If we have a job that's
Right.
defined and easy to quote, we quote
Right,
it.
right.
Okay, last number.
So the last one is the bid process. So large purchases with a value of over a certain number must
100K?
follow up. And it's been 50,000. That's what you changed it to last time. We can do 50,000.
Wanna do 100K? That too big? trucks, paving, you know, all
Yeah,
those
it could
things
be
are
up to
over
250.
100K.
Right, you're saying you have to get a quote
And that's a sealed bid process,
Sealed bid.
50,
versus the sealed bid process.
right.
Shouldn't we match that major purchase line with that line though?
It should be.
Yeah. So you'd have to raise that, the second number on the major purchases.
Okay, so 20K to 100K and
Right.
then, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That's
So
what makes-
20K to 100K and then anything over 100K is, gotta have a sealed bid.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
What do you think, Dave?
I'm just trying to, I don't know, pain in the ass and devil's advocate stuff, but.
Thank God you are.
So we can always go backwards, all right? If I've got a box culvert or a huge culvert, I know it's a $75,000 job. It
Yeah.
falls in my major purchase, but it doesn't require a bid process.
Right.
That's right.
I can bid that, right? Because at 75,000, that's worth putting a bid out to the local guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the good news would be like if you got a bid and it was high, like maybe you don't know how much it's gonna be. If you got a bid that was like 75,000, now you haven't, you can still do, you can get another bid and find out what the
Right, but I'm
range
saying,
is.
we can, this requires us to get a sealed bid over 100.
Right.
But we can take that top tier and apply it down. If we have a well-defined.
Yes, we
smaller
want it, yeah,
project,
sure,
we'll be
yeah,
able to seal
absolutely,
bid.
absolutely. But if we got a smaller project and we have a dialogue, you know, we're kind of finding our way, the sealed bid is more, kind of more formal, more
Right.
structured.
Right.
Yeah, and then there's less
You could
chance
say-
of not being included, everything included, so apples are apples,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, last
You could
page.
say bid process, all purchases of 100 or more, or 100, I mean, you could say something to the effect of unless otherwise noted by the, I don't know.
No, let's go with this.
Okay,
So we're on the last page.
yeah, the last page.
We can
So-
always amend this thing.
The last page, recurring purchases, this is where, so B&T in 2024 was $73,000 for the year. Borbo was $59,000 for the year. Leach was 11.7, and Cargill was 59,000. So if you have a recurring purchase, right now it's exceeding 10,000, which is really low considering none of our, I mean, only Leach's. It would make sense for you to increase that.
I mean, technically that would be salt, chloride and all that stuff.
Yeah, and it's all the stuff that you kind of sign on in the
And
beginning.
it's all put out to bid anyways.
Well, it's not, because if we need a load of stone, we go get a load of stone. Right, Borbo's, none of their bills are over 20,000. It's a consistent load of stone here and there.
Yeah, well, they go between there and Swanton. So
Right.
it's the only two places you can get it, so
Right.
that doesn't make any difference. And the sand
Right,
and
right.
gravel, the sand and gravel was put out to bid.
Right.
It says once a bid has been accepted, for all future purposes, there's no need to do an additional bid process unless you decide that you want to.
You know, I mean, that's, doesn't change, once you accept the bid, it's for that for the whole year, and then once a year you do it.
Right, but what we're trying to figure out is how does spending $50,000 with Swanton Lime or Borbo's or Cargill apply to the purchasing policy we just did? So you're saying recurring,
Right now, what you're saying is that recurring, and this is from the current purchasing policy, you're saying that if anything is anticipated to exceed $10,000 in a fiscal year, you're supposed to be going through a bid process every time. But we're not really, and also the amount that people were spending on recurring, these vendors who you've already approved in the past is up to 73,000 at this point. And that's just one, that's the highest it has.
With the other part of that policy, why do we even need recurring purchases in there?
On reoccurring purchases,
Because one invoice for stone could be $3,000,
Yeah.
which is above the incidental purchases amount.
but that's a budget expenditure.
It's a line item budget expenditure. You're anticipating you're gonna spend. Simple enough, just put this thing at 75 or 100.
100K.
Well, I'm just thinking if you don't wanna be dealing with it all the time, just so you don't have to bid everything and you know it's not gonna go down in the next few years.
Well, the only thing that's not bid is Swanton and the
And,
other one,
yeah.
Cargill and the salt and chloride, all that's out to bid.
Right, cause if we get a couple quotes every year for the chloride. You know,
We don't bid salt, nobody else provides it.
nobody else
right?
provides it.
Right.
You know, you kind of,
The salt and chloride goes through by the state prices, unless sometimes those guys will beat the state price.
yeah, once in a while we'll beat the.
75K, and let's be vigilant.
Yeah, we keep an eye on
We-
stuff. just
We'll
like
look
we
at this
always do.
policy 6 months from now, just, put it on the calendar or something. See how it's working out.
Okay.
Because what you're saying there versus the discussion we just had, the stone doesn't fall into this because it's
So, yeah.
different purchases.
Different kinds
I
of
bought
purchases.
10 loads for this project this week
Yeah.
and 5 loads next week.
Yeah, it's the same thing as you were talking about, the excavating job. You
Right.
break it down, it's just,
Right.
it may add up to the thing, but all that's not going in one place, it's all going, it's going different jobs.
Yeah.
So do we need a motion to accept this revised?
We got one last,
The last part
professional
was
services.
professional services. Do you want to have a value up to a certain amount on that? So for example, right now we don't have
What's our audit cost us?
25,000 right now. We have to go back out to bid.
That's the highest kind of line item there?
And then that would cover engineering as well. So if you have a professional who is gonna cost you,
Yeah, but what engineering what do we typically spend there, or it varies?
it varies.
It varies quite a bit.
Like 300, the state spent 365,000 to engineer the Parity Road Bridge. But it really depends. Jouer was, I think, 60,000 or something. So it's really different depending on.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know, 30K? And this is the discretion, this is our discretion.
Yeah.
So this is a case by case, but yeah, I'd say 30K for now.
And again, let's put it, as you suggested, 6 months from now, we should look at it again to see if it's working the way we hope it does or anticipate it will.
So I can put all of those numbers in this and
Insurance, well,
Yeah, well, I think it should be higher than that myself.
what is our insurance? So insurance, so that's healthcare, so we're bidding those on an annual basis, right?
insurance,
That's
we
part of
don't.
this line here. Susan.
Oh,
Foreign
insurance, right.
I mean, your
Oh.
property insurance is different than your health insurance.
But we're getting annual quotes on that, right?
They provide the estimate every year, so they'll tell you how much it's gonna be, and then what we've been doing is either accepting it or not. You hear it, and then you decide whether or not you want me to go out and look for something else.
Mm-hmm,
That's how we landed on passive this year.
right.
I think that number should be higher because
How much, roughly, how much is the building insurance? That's the higher amount.
I'd have to go back.
Roughly.
Well, so
Yeah.
this, so this,
75,000 maybe.
this gives us the discretion on a case by case,
Oh,
by vendor
it's
by
actually
vendor.
right here, it's right,
It's right in the town budget too, right here.
we have it in there.
Like Ron, maybe it's 60K here,
Or
Just-
70. Yeah, that's
100K.
100, I would say 100.
We can put 100 in there. It
I would think 100 in there would give you the options.
Yeah, and then we every couple of years, we say, hey, let's look at healthcare.
Yeah.
So I have already, I have all of the numbers that you've just decided on. I can enter those into this draft. This is the final draft of the purchasing policy.
I make a motion, we,
Let's just plug them in, throw them in front of us next week and Then we
Okay.
sign it, that way it's,
Okay,
Okay,
you
And then it's
just
a
look
one
through
and
it, make
done.
sure she's got them where we
Yeah.
want 'em,
okay,
and-
yeah.
okay.
Okay, so what do we get left? All the
Properties. Okay, so two things. One is we have an intent to sell draft that, that we've worked on, Brian and I have worked on. And there is a potential property sales timeline that we can adhere to. Everything that you had decided is in the intent to sell. Basically, what's gonna happen is that there will be an intent to sell that's posted for 30 days. And then each of those properties is an RFP for a sealed bid process. And we had sort of talked about a 40-day posting after the end of that intent to sell, but we can post those at any time, actually. There was
We're not
just-
gonna do it sequentially, we're gonna do it parallel.
Right, exactly,
Right.
yeah. But from 30 days at the end of that intent to sell posting, it brings us up to opening the bids in June, on the 9th, June 9th meeting, unsealing the bids. And I think we're ready to go. What do you think?
Yeah, the only thing, so the only thought I was gonna raise, I think it's great, I think you did some great work, and I think you're a little more, I think you did a good, you're caution, we're doing right by the state statute. The only thing I was wondering is, when we say, I can't remember the exact language, but we say 5% non-refundable deposit, if someone, we don't guarantee title, so I wondered if there was a problem with title, and I'm not saying there is,
Oh, guaranteed.
then if I was a bidder and there's no fault of my own, why am I gonna give up my deposit? So I didn't know if
We had some wording in there that says the expenses of preparing and submitting bids and all closing costs are the sole responsibility of the bidders. No contingencies will be accepted. Sort of a flag.
yeah, well, I mean, I think we should guarantee title. But, I don't know.
How would you word that?
What's that?
Did you talk to the lawyer at all? I mean, you guys have got.
I've sent this to him
Yeah.
and he hasn't replied yet. I haven't heard, he replied that he was going to get back to me early this week.
I think from the town's standpoint, everything in there is, I think, protects the town.
We have some wiggle room. I can wait and see if he has any comments. And we would still be in the first meeting of June with all of the timelines, running.
Okay, well, let's see if we can ask him if he has any recommendations for the request for the RFP. The
Okay,
terms, with your permission, if we have to adjust the terms based on his inputs, but if not, we'll go with what we.
Yeah, I think if we're gonna open bids, make sure everything's kosher, that's, I think, a good time to go
Okay.
ask him.
okay. And
And
that was,
if we don't get input from him, we'll defer a month,
no, I think he had planned on getting me back to me last week and I just think I'm pretty sure he's in court.
Okay, good.
Just hasn't been able to.
Well, and
That's our new lawyer.
That's when
the
he's been great.
the money that generates, there's no reason we can't dedicate it towards that Bridge 51, our share of cost. Create its own fund.
Be kind of fun. I mean,
Well, we've done
visibility
it
for the
before, we
community.
took capital monies and we kept them, that's how we had money to pay for some of these other bridges, we had it in its own fund.
Yeah,
So we had the 5% match, we had to have it these different things. We did on probably 3 bridges anyway, didn't we, Tom?
Yeah.
So there's no reason
Well,
we couldn't take that money, create its own account and use, and dedicate that money so it doesn't fall into general funds and gets
Yep.
used up.
Same as what you did for the trucks and the
Yeah.
grader and all that other stuff. You
And that
just
way there, we
create-
know we'd have X number of dollars to start off on our end of it.
Yeah, and the one thing that on that subject, the one thing I was sitting in bed thinking, when we got we had that discussion on, there was I think the state fella, there's 2 ways to approach this, like a bridge that's aging. You can either do nothing and accelerate the aging, so when it's a crisis,
Yeah.
or you can show it some love and TLC to kind of get it. And I think, I think our board's bias would be, it would be irresponsible not to do whatever we could to kind of keep it safe.
Well, as
So
you
that's-
say, you gotta keep it safe for liability reasons.
Well, that was the one thing I felt uncomfortable that conversation, because you know, if it's ours, and we should do everything we can to kind of extend its useful life. And I don't know what that means, but that was just one thing, you know, when he verbalized it,
So
we never,
what Tyler told me about engineering that bridge was to look at what the state, what the cost of the state, what the cost for the Parity Bridge was. And he said that this bridge was gonna be similar in terms of engineering costs as that. So if you're like even just engineering a brand new bridge right now, it's over $300,000, $350,000. So if you're engineering something different, it's, you know, I assume, I don't know, maybe it'll be less, maybe.
Yeah, point being, we're all in the same boat. We all wanna say, let it fall apart, but we can't. We have to take care of it and keep it up in standard.
yeah, and
Travel.
to do that, to take care of it, is that our responsibility, or is that working? Because he said I think he said we have funds that help with maintenance. Did I hear?
Of the state roads.
Oh, state bridges, okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
they have maintenance, their responsibility is the maintenance of the state roads for this district and the facilitation of grants.
okay.
We could use a structures grant to help work on that, but it pulls it away from a paving project or
Yeah.
a box culvert.
Okay, well,
And every time we do it, we
just,
get
I think
that
that's,
involved.
I think we're in agreement, we should, you know, do what we can.
Revisit. I did, talk to the state about Parity Bridge, and you had asked, can we just put that all toward Chester Arthur? And at this point, because we've approved the engineering, and all of the monies that have gone through that project are for that project, so we can't transfer that funding to something else, unfortunately, at this time. But, they also said that one of the reasons why the bridge currently is sort of stalled is because there was an easement issue. There's a property owner who passed away, and so their property is in a trust, and there's sort of an easement signage issue that they haven't. So I told them
That's
we
really,
would-
that's
we would be-
disturbing to hear that.
We would be working on that with them.
So they're saying the
So-
bridge was pushed back to a year because they had.
Part of the reason, that's what they said, part of the reason. That, and also that because all of the other bridges in the state of Vermont had, you know.
I thought it was a flooding, so somebody said
Yeah,
we
the
need.
flooding. They
We need to
said
take
that was
that
the
money
other
and
part.
put it there.
Well, I just invited the secretary, so hopefully we'll
See what goes.
see what happens.
I do have the contacts for, there is a group of people at the state who are dedicated to the bridge funding formula. So
Oh,
I did get that contact from
Oh,
the
good.
person who had been,
Good.
or was working on that bridge, so
Oh, good.
we're getting there.
Are we done?
That was
I'm ready to go home.
properties,
Got
yeah,
anything
that's
on
it. For me. Thanks.
I'll make a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn? Someone second it?